How do you know if you believe you're worthy or not? It's an interesting question, right? I know for me in my experience, there have been times where I have worked very diligently on a conscious level to develop self worth. And I felt a knowing of my worthiness for good relationships, for a fulfilling, meaningful job. And yet, there were these experiences I kept having that showed me that on a deep subconscious level, my sense of worthiness was lacking. And it took a while before I could actually dig into those subconscious programs before I really felt myself operating from a sense of worthiness. Now, what makes us worthy? What makes us have a sense of our worthiness? This, in and of itself, is worth looking at through the conscious lens as a prerequisite to the subconscious excavation to understand where you are in your relationship with your innate worthiness. If you think about the raw material of life and the energetic reality, meaning if we were to consider the building blocks of matter, the atoms that construct our makeup, our physical reality and matter, as being recycled through all of these different forms. And in terms of thermodynamics, the transduction that happens, this notion that energy doesn't die, it changes form, it changes shape, changes expression, but it never dies. So the very material that makes up our physical being and our expression of self is the material that has been shared through the ethers, through star systems, through various plants and animals. And we don't question the worth of all of that. In fact, it's rather awe inspiring, usually, for when we actually let in the incredible magnitude of our universe and what we know about it and the questions we have about it. It can be absolutely full of wonder, and we don't question its worth. It just is. There's an isness to it that has an evidence of its worthiness. Its sheer existence is worthy. And yet, when it comes to our sheer existence, we sometimes don't always see it that way. And that's sort of the reality is recognizing there is a isness to us, to our human selves, that is just like a tree or a star or any number of things that you might not question its worth or its presence at all. We have that kind of worthiness in us. But our sense of worth can be a fluctuating experience for a myriad of different factors. We will sometimes oscillate on a spectrum of different feeling tones where we move through experiences of shame. Sometimes we're feeling neutral. Sometimes we feel exalted and exhilarated in life. And those are moments typically where we feel our worth. We don't question our worth. We just are in our worthiness versus the converse experience of guilt or shame or anger and any number of things that feel like a lower frequency. That's where we start to feel pinched off from our sense of worth, typically, or the worthiness of life itself. So it's not that our worth diminishes or oscillates, it's that our access to the feelings of worth change and fluctuate. So that's one thing to note. The other thing is to understand where certain patterns of being have been conditioned, where, back to the subconscious programming that has a way of causing us to feel chronically unworthy, even if we have an innate worthiness. There's two more factors here. For one, we often are experiencing, especially in our culture, we often measure our worthiness based on achievements. So achievement, it's an achievement expectation ratio. If we are achieving at the rate of our expectation, we feel worthy. So if we say we're going to accomplish 10 things today and we accomplish all 10, we feel worthy. But if we've set our expectations for 10 things and all we do is accomplish one, we tend to not feel as worthy. So there's an important instruction here that we set our expectations very wisely to help leverage achievement for a sense of worth. So if we make our expectations very achievable and excuse proof, it's easier to leverage that for an experience of worthiness. And it could be as simple as celebrating brushing your teeth and making your bed, and maybe writing a letter you said you would write, or so on and so forth. Whatever the thing is, to make it bite size, actionable, and then prioritize checking that box and then using that achievement as evidence of your worthiness. However, again, there's a whole experience of tapping into our innate worthiness where we hold a sense of our worthiness the same way that we see anything we love and admire as worthy. And then achievement is just a cherry on top. We understand that as humans, we also do have these dopamine systems, and that there is this need to create things to pursue and to achieve once again. And yet we haven't hung up our sense of worthiness to all of that. We can be more and more intentional about how we design our lives accordingly, back to that ratio of achievement and expectation, but also clear understanding about I am worthy and it feels really good to achieve. So we can go through a process of affirming our worthiness. I am worthy. I am worthy. However, if there is a deep-seated feeling of I didn't get my needs met as a child, therefore I wonder what I did wrong, that can be a big one. There's often inner child work involved in this because it is a natural tendency of the child mind to interpret the experiences they're having through the lens of an egocentric mind, a narcissistic lens, so to speak. It's just part of childhood to see everything in relationship to the self. And if we haven't fully addressed those experiences in childhood, that's often where some of our unworthiness codes and scripts come from. There's all sorts of work to be done around this. If you're interested in digging into your subconscious, inner child work, and various other layers of the excavation that can happen and reprogramming your subconscious, please feel free to reach out for a free consultation. This is some of my most near and dear work. I've come a long ways in my own journey. I've watched many, many clients that I've worked with really transform their experience of worthiness, sense of worthiness, and watched how it changed their lives. Let me know if that's of interest to you.